Good morning and welcome to episode 34 of the Willow Cove Crafts podcast, a podcast about knitting and sewing and my other crafty endeavors. My name is Emily, and you can find me on both Ravelry and Instagram as Willow Cove Crafts. Today is Sunday, August 21st, 2022, and I am coming to you from just outside of Madison in Verona, Wisconsin. It has been 2 weeks since I last recorded, and we have been up to a couple things over here, really trying to squeeze out the last little bits of summer here in Wisconsin. Let's see, we rented a boat last Saturday with some friends and spent the day out on the lake. Madison, if you are not familiar or have never been here, is a lake community. Madison is built on an isthmus, which I don't think I would know that term if I didn't live here, but basically there's two lakes that are kind of right next to each other, and Madison is on that strip of land in between the two lakes. So we have Lake Monona and Lake Mendota, and summertime here in Madison, at least for us, is not complete without a couple visits to the lakes and doing some sort of water activity. So, summer is dwindling a little bit, so we tried to make sure we got one more boat rental in with some friends. What else did we do? Last Sunday, it was kind of a busy weekend last weekend. We went and watched some Formula K kart racing. My friend, one of my really good friends, has a 7-year-old son, and he is really into racing. And so if you're familiar with Formula One, it's kind of like that, but for children. I guess not for children. There was all sorts of age ranges, but FK is the kart racing, and so he has this kart that his dad helped him build, and he races it, and he's really good at it apparently, and so we decided to go watch him, and that was really fun and interesting. Dan really likes Formula One. I think he is, amongst the group of people. I hope everyone knows what I'm talking about, but Netflix, maybe a year or two ago, released a documentary called Drive to Survive, which is about Formula One, and I feel like ever since that documentary came out, everyone and their mother is interested in Formula One, including Dan. So now we watch Formula One, and yes, my friend and her husband have been into Formula One for years. They've been really big fans, and then their children have been fans, and then her son asked if he could start racing. And it's like the weirdest thing because they're just little kids and they're in these cars and they're driving around, but it was really cool. And yeah, I'm excited to see him race more and see how he does over the next couple years. It's a really interesting thing. So we did that last Sunday. And what did we do yesterday? Yesterday, other than that, so I've mentioned this before, but Dan and I are going to France in just a couple days. We leave on Friday, and we both kind of looked at each other one day and we were like, what are you wearing? And the other one was like, I don't know, what are you wearing? And then we both kind of felt like wholly unprepared for this vacation. And so we've been just like shopping and trying to buy things to get ready to go to the beach and to like pack for the beach for like an international beach trip. There's just like a lot of stuff that like I hadn't like initially thought of, and then I'm thinking it through and I'm like, we need a solution to that. Like, for example, our beach towels are like really big and we can't really pack them because they'll take up a ton of suitcase space. And so, you know, I went out and bought some of those, I think it's called Sand Cloud. I see ads for them on Instagram all the time, but like they roll up really tightly and don't collect a lot of sand, which I thought would be like a good choice, right? Mostly for how compact they can roll up and fit nicely in the suitcase, but just things like that. Like every day I think of something new, and I feel like, yeah, whenever I go on a big trip, I just have this like nagging feeling that I'm forgetting something. And yeah, I get a bit anxious leading up to vacations. I don't know if anyone else is like that, where I just feel like I'm gonna forget something really major and it's gonna ruin our trip. It never happens. Everything always seems to work out fine, but yeah, just a lot of like planning and making reservations and figuring out what we're gonna do while we're there and trying to make like some semblance of an itinerary. And like, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really excited, but I do tend to get kind of anxious like leading up to the trip and then traveling. The travel day is always so stressful, but then once we're there, I'm really looking forward to it. So yes, that's what we've been up to the last couple weeks since I last spoke to you. Today I have no finished objects to share with you. I have 2 knitting works in progress, 1 sewing work in progress, and then I thought I would also talk about what I am planning on bringing on our vacation this week. Because that's another thing that has taken up a lot of consideration. I've been just like ruminating on taking knitting to France and how that's gonna work. So I'll talk about that a little bit at the end. So without further ado, we can get started on whips. As far as works in progress go, I am working on the same 2 sweaters as I was last episode. They are both test knits, so they are on deadlines. So I've been pretty exclusively working on these 2 sweaters to hopefully get them done on time. I'm starting to get a little nervous that I'm not going to meet the deadline. I'm pretty confident I will meet the deadline on one of them. The second one, I'm still optimistic, but also like not as confident as I once was. But yeah, I'm really hoping to at least like knit the pieces to give feedback on all of the different parts of the sweater. So like, you know, maybe not finish the body, but knit a sleeve so that I can give feedback on those instructions. So my goal at this point, I think I'll be like close to meeting the deadline. I might miss it by a little bit, but I do want to at least be in a position to give feedback on the pattern in its entirety. Is like my secondary goal if for some reason I can't finish, which I hope I finish. I'm still hopeful, but yes. Anyways, my first test knit and the one that I have put the most work in over the last couple weeks is the double date sweater by Winter's Weather Knits. That is Joey, who is the designer behind that brand. And this sweater is worked bottom up. It's a dropped shoulder. So basically it's pretty much a big rectangle at this point. But now I'm about to get to the exciting part, which is, you know, shaping the neckline and joining the shoulders. And here's my progress. A bottom up sweater is so hard to show right side up. So I'm going to show it to you upside down. So this is the bottom hem. And since last time, let me find where I was. So this is the back of the sweater, and let me put it up to the camera, but I was where this little gold marker was. And so you start at the bottom and you knit in the round until you get to the underarm. And so last episode I was still knitting in the round, and then this brown stripe right here, this dark brown stripe, the whole thing is brown, but this dark brown stripe was my last stripe in the round. And from there I kept knitting the back, and then I also since then have gotten quite a bit of work done on the front. So again here, this again is that last stripe in the round, and then I've knit this far on the front. And yeah, again, like I said, so far this is basically just a big rectangle. You can see the split for the sleeves here. I'm at the point though where I'm gonna start knitting the two sides of the front separately to make, you know, more of a scooped neckline. And then I'll join the shoulders and knit the collar. I'm really hoping to finish the body of this sweater in its entirety. So join the shoulders, knit the collar before we leave on vacation. And then I am not planning on taking this with me. And then that will give me about 2 weeks after we return to knit the sleeves. So I'm pretty confident that I will finish this one on time. And yeah, I'm also really excited to finally be, I don't want to say at the interesting part. You know, at this point, you know, we've just been knitting straight, again, big rectangle. I'm excited to like get to the point where like it feels like the pattern's moving a little quicker. So like you're knitting the left front and then the right front and then the collar and then the sleeves. I feel like sleeves always go pretty quickly. So I think I'm like kind of through the like slog of this sweater. And now we're gonna get to the like exciting bits where it actually starts to look like a sweater. Before I talk about the yarn I'm using, I did want to talk about sizing. So I do think this pattern is pretty size inclusive. I am knitting the extra large size, which is right in the middle of the size range. I think there's 4 sizes smaller and 4 sizes bigger. And the extra large is a 52.5 inch bust circumference. So for reference, I have a 45 inch bust, and then this sweater will be 52.5 inches, giving me about 7 to 8 inches of positive ease. It's meant to be a bit oversized. Again, it's that drop shoulder. It's supposed to be like really cozy. I do think, so I knit this completely to pattern. It is gonna be a bit cropped on me. I've tried it on to the best of my abilities. Again, if you've ever knit a bottom up drop shoulder sweater before, you know it's pretty much impossible to try on until the entire body is finished. But I've just kind of like held it up to myself, and I do think it's gonna like just come to the top of some high-waisted pants. And then yeah, it'll be a little bit oversized, which I really like the like oversized cropped sweater look. I feel like that's really trendy these days. Yeah, I think it's gonna fit not quite as intended. If I had knit this outside of the test knit and I had all of the time in the world, I probably would have lengthened the body a little bit. I'm 5'9" for reference. But knitting it to pattern, I think it'll be a nice oversized cropped sweater, which I can also use in my wardrobe. The yarn I am using, so it's a DK weight pattern, and I am using Brooklyn Tweed Arbor, which is blowing out. This is 100% American Targhee wool. Again, a DK weight. And this is my main color, which is Hammock. And then my 3 contrast colors. I'll hold them up and show you. The darkest brown is called Carob, and this color is discontinued, so I don't think you can get it anymore. Maybe you can find it on a D-stash somewhere, but Carob. My mid-tone tan is called Arabesque, and then the lightest tan is called Degas. So together, here are my 3 stripes. And then, you know, that goes with the main color. I'm really happy with this color palette. It's, I don't know, I say it all the time, but I am a big fan of neutrals. And so to have this like kind of monochromatic tan and brown sweater just makes my heart so happy. Yeah, I really, really do think I'm gonna get a lot of wear out of this. I also don't think I've talked about this before. I really like stripes. It's one of those things that like I never really thought of or like identified about myself. And then I had a friend who said like she sent me a picture of this striped shirt that she had bought, and she was like, this looks like something you would wear. And I was like, why? And she was like, you wear stripes literally all the time. And I was like, you're right, I do. So anyways, I apparently really like stripes. And yeah, I am excited to finish that within the next couple weeks, hopefully. Probably won't have it done by next podcast, but hopefully, again, by mid-September, this guy will be all finished. My next work in progress is my other test knit, which is the Cargill sweater by Rebecca of Crea Knits. Rebecca has a really great podcast, and this is her very first design that she is publishing. And here is my progress. So definitely didn't work on this one as much as the double date over the last few weeks. This is the back, and here is where I was last time. So this is a top-down raglan sweater. So yeah, I knit maybe 2.5 inches, we'll say. And then I also went back and knit the collar. So you add on a folded over collar after the fact. And the reason you do that, so Rebecca did this like pretty ingenious technique to do short rows in pattern to raise the back of your neckline, because obviously it's always nice to have some short rows in the back of your sweater because the back of your neck is much higher up than the front of your neck. And yeah, she did this really cool technique. I don't want to talk about it too much because this will be a paid for pattern. But you know, you cast on underneath the collar, and then you go back and add the collar after the fact. And then, yeah, I am maybe like 7 or 8 rows away from splitting for the sleeves. Raglan sweaters, as you know, those rounds are just so large right before you split for the sleeves. And so, yeah, even though I've only knit about 2.5 inches, we'll say like 4 inches if you count the collar. And this is a double collar, so, you know, I knit twice as much as you're seeing. But yeah, the rounds are just so long. I'm really excited to split for the sleeves and shorten up the rows a little bit. But yeah, I'm pretty in love with this sweater. This is the one I'm less confident about finishing. I'm gonna try really hard to get as much done as I can by the deadline. I definitely think that I will knit. So this is my current ball of yarn. I'm gonna knit until this is gone, and then I think I'm gonna go in and knit one of the sleeves. Again, just so I can offer feedback on, you know, those two major components of the sweater, just in case I don't finish on time. But I am planning on taking this with me to France, which will provide a lot of knitting time on it. So I'll talk more about that during my travel section. But I'm hopeful like a week of vacation knitting, like monogamous vacation knitting on this will give me some really good progress. And so then when I get home, yeah, I won't be as stressed. There's an extra week. The double date has to be done on the 16th, I think. I don't remember. But basically like the 3rd week in September, and then this has to be done the 4th week in September. And so this one I have a little bit of extra time. But yeah. Anyways, the yarn I am using, so I'm holding 2 yarns held together. The first one, so they're both Emilia et Philomene. And this is their Josephine base. This is 100% non-superwash wool in the Tiffany colorway. And that is a fingering weight. And then I am holding that together, again, also with Emilia et Philomene. And this is in their Leona base, also the Tiffany colorway. And this is 72% mohair, 28% silk. And held together. This yarn is magic. I love it so much. I am just completely enamored by this sweater. I love the stitch pattern. I love the vertical lines. Everything about this is so magnificent. Yeah, I also feel like progress on this is very slow because I'm like stopping after every row to just like admire it. Yes. As far as sizing goes, I am making size 6. So Rebecca did 11 sizes, which is really amazing and inclusive. So I'm making the 6th size, and that is meant to be, so I think the finished sweater will be 47 inches. So about 2 inches of positive ease for me. The Cargill is meant to be a little bit more fitted. So yeah, that's your sizing update. I promised last episode that I would be a little bit more prepared in sharing what size I was making of every one of my projects. So yes, excited to split for the sleeves. And yeah, getting the sleeve separation always feels like a huge accomplishment, because it doesn't feel like you're making a lot of progress, because you're not really making a lot of progress lengthwise, but like you are making a lot of progress because that is the widest point of the sweater and your rows are super long. And yeah, getting the sleeve separation, and then that's when it also starts to like really look like a sweater, and it's just a really satisfying point to get to. So yes, I'm trying to think if there's anything else to say about this. I don't think so. Both of these patterns have been super lovely, and I'm really excited to have the finished objects. I think I'm gonna wear them a ton this fall and winter, and yeah, I think that's it. My last work in progress today is a sewing project. I showed this last time and it's almost done. I thought I might have it finished for today, but I didn't quite make it. I do plan on finishing this up this evening, but for our trip, I wanted to sew a new dress, and so I am making another version of the Reglisse dress by Deer and Doe Patterns. I've sewn up one other version of this dress before and I really love it. I feel like it fits me really well. And so I wanted to make another version because it makes me feel really confident and pretty, and it's a really great pattern. So I'm gonna try to hold this up. It looks pretty much like a finished dress. So we've got the bodice, that's all done. The sleeve caps are on. Here's the waistband, we've got the skirt. The last few things I need to do to finish this up is I need to hem the skirt and I need to put buttons on this placket here. And then I also need to put an elastic in the waist. And all in all, I think that's maybe an hour of work. So I'm really hoping to finish this up this evening. So it is all set to get packed this week for our trip. I sewed this out of a blue cotton chambray I purchased from Mood Fabrics. And yeah, I feel like it's just gonna be the perfect dress to wear on vacation. Again, we're going to the French Riviera, so we're gonna be by the coast, and this to me just screams ocean and beach. And yes, it's super lightweight. It fits really nicely. I'm really excited to wear it on our trip. And then I've said this a couple times at this point, but this dress has been my first opportunity to use my brand new serger that Dan got me for my birthday. And oh, I just love that thing. It's great. I'm a big fan of the serger. If you're thinking about getting one, buy it for yourself, put it on your holiday wish list, do what you gotta do. But I do love the serger and would highly recommend it. It did take a little bit of getting used to, but I feel like a pro now. But anyways, just a quick update on my dress for you, and hopefully this will be a finished object. Next episode, I'm hoping to get some like really nice finished object photos on our trip, because why wouldn't you when you're in such a beautiful location? The problem with that is Dan would have to take them, and I love Dan so much, but he cannot take a good photo to save his life. I don't understand it. Like, he will try and take a picture of something, it will be blurry. The blurry bit is the big thing. Like composition, like if it's off center or whatever, but like, it's like, dude, this picture is blurry. Did you not? Anyways, we'll see. I will try and get nice pictures, but when you're relying on Dan to take your picture, you're maybe not gonna be happy at the end of the day. So anyways, Reglisse dress, almost done. And yes, definitely have to finish it up this week in order to take it with us on our trip. And that is it for works in progress. So now I'm going to talk about my plans for our upcoming vacation and kind of my thought process behind traveling with knitting. I know people have a lot of questions about that. There are travel forums for knitters everywhere where they talk about bringing needles on planes and what people's strategy is around that. So I thought I would let you know what my plans are. And maybe that will be like helpful or interesting to some of you. So anyways, we are leaving so today is Sunday. We are leaving Friday evening, and we are flying from Madison to Chicago to Munich to Nice. And that in total, I think, you know, fingers crossed, we don't have any delays. I feel like these days that's inevitable, but you know, as of right now, that's an 18-hour travel day, which, I mean, I'm preaching to the choir. It's fine if you have your knitting. That's a really long time to not have your knitting. And so anyways, and then I also would like to have knitting while we're there. I don't anticipate knitting a ton while we're in France, but you know, I'll probably find some time to do it. Dan is very much, Dan and I are very different in our approach to vacations. I really like to relax and sit, which is very conducive to knitting. And Dan is very active on vacations. He wants to go on walks. He wants to see everything he possibly can see. And so we're constantly trying to find this like happy medium. I think, so I forgot to mention, we're going to France, but we are going to the Riviera, the Côte d'Azur. I think I'm saying that correctly. We're spending 4 days in Cannes and 4 days in Nice. Our trip is 9 days though, so that doesn't quite add up. But you know, we're spending about half of our trip in Cannes, half of it in Nice, and then we do have plans to go to the other smaller towns around that area. So we have plans to go to Saint-Tropez for the day. We're gonna go to Monaco, Menton, Izé, Antibes, and Villefranche is one of our stops. We might hop over the border into Italy for dinner one night. So we're gonna be like all over the place. The area I just talked about, from my understanding, it's all like very close together. And there's a train, so like getting around should be hopefully pretty easy from what I've read. It's pretty easy to hop around to all of those little towns. But that's our plan. And, you know, even when we're there, like we're gonna definitely go to the beach. I can knit at the beach. We're gonna be on the train some of the time, going from place to place. You know, Dan has to shower occasionally, so I can knit while he's in the shower. You know, there's like lots of little snippets of time. So I want to have some knitting with me. The problem I'm running into, or what has kind of caused me some consideration, is France is one of the only countries in the EU that explicitly prohibits metal knitting needles on the airplane. I think it might be one of the only countries in the world that does that. So that is obviously a problem for me as a person who likes to use metal knitting needles. As some context, I live in the United States and I have done lots of domestic traveling and have never ever had an issue with my metal knitting needles on US based flights. And that's something I did want to call out because I know people get stressed about that, or like wonder if they can take their metal needles on the plane. I think in the US, again, I have been knitting for over 10 years. I probably take, you know, a handful of flying trips each year. You know, I travel a little bit for work sometimes, and then my own personal travel, and I always bring metal knitting needles. Never had a problem. Specifically, I almost exclusively knit on circular needles, and I really like 5-inch tips. And again, I've brought thicker needles, I've brought sock needles. No one has ever even asked to see them when I go through security. It's never been an issue. The US does not prohibit knitting needles. They explicitly call out that you're allowed to knit. So obviously that's a little different than the rules in France. So from what I have read, I should probably not have any trouble getting my knitting needles there. So again, Madison, Chicago, Germany, kind of the places that we're traveling through to get to France. It should be fine. And again, what I have read, it kind of matters where you go through security. So yeah, if we go through security in the United States, obviously, and then, maybe we'll have to go through security again in Germany, but it should be fine. And then I'll be able to knit on our trip. And then the way home, we are traveling from Nice to Montreal to Chicago to Madison. And that is where I might run into problems. I'm gonna detach my tips. So I am fully expecting my metal knitting needles to get confiscated on the way home. I think it is worth it to be able to do some knitting while we're on our trip. I already have, so this is my Cargill sweater, and these are size 7s. I've already purchased another pair of size 7. These are my ChiaoGoo interchangeable needles. I've already purchased a replacement pair of tips because again, I think these are gonna get taken away. I am gonna unscrew them. And I think what I have read online is to bring like a pencil pouch with pencils and pens and put your needles in there just as kind of like a little decoy. I by no means want to encourage people to actively break the law, but yeah, I would like to bring these home. If they need to take them, I am prepared to give these up. The French rules and regulations specifically call out metal knitting needles as being prohibited. So I am planning on bringing some. So again, my main knitting project, I'm gonna work on my Cargill. I think, if I can work on this on the flight there and throughout our trip, I can get a lot of work done on this. And I wasn't gonna bring this originally, but because it has such a tight deadline after we get home, I just feel like losing a week of work on it, it makes me anxious. I would really, really like to get some good work done on this while we're on our trip. So I'm gonna bring my Cargill, I'm gonna bring my metal needles because I don't wanna switch to wooden needles on the Cargill because I'm worried it will affect my gauge. So yeah, I'm just gonna try and bring it, and if they confiscate my needles, they confiscate my needles. I am fully prepared for that to potentially happen. In the event that happens, so the French policy explicitly prohibits metal needles and anything that's deemed sharp. What I'm hoping that doesn't include is smaller tipped wooden needles. And I've been reading forums and some people have said that they were successfully able to get through the French security with their wooden needles. So I left them over there, so I'm not gonna go grab them, but I bought some interchangeable size 4 wooden needles in the 4-inch, so they're short. And yeah, they're not super sharp. We've all seen wooden needles. They're the ChiaoGoo spins, I think is what they're called. And I bought a couple little cords, and I think my plan, if I can't work on my sweater for whatever reason, is to start a hat and to just have a smaller, more portable project to bring with me. So I'm planning to cast on the Oslo Hat by PetiteKnit. It's been in my queue for forever. I really have wanted to knit it, and it's gonna be fall when we return, so I'm gonna need a new hat. The yarn I am planning to use is this beautiful mustard kind of golden yellow. This is Woolfolk Tynd or Tind, and this is I'm gonna get the fiber content for you. It is a fingering weight yarn and it is 100% wool. But I don't know if it's a specific type. 100% Ovis 21 Ultimate Merino Wool. And this is color 27. And Woolfolk makes some of the softest yarn you have ever felt. Like, this almost feels like there's cashmere in it. It is such a like fine, high quality wool. And yes, I have 3 skeins, which should be enough to make the Oslo hat. The Oslo hat takes up a lot of yarn for a hat. It's got this like triple folded brim, and you hold the fingering weight held double. So it's basically knit at a DK weight gauge, and it's got that triple brim. And so there's actually a lot of knitting in the hat. So yes, and then I bought, again, a size 4 wooden needle. I'll probably cast this on anyways on our trip, just because the Cargill is kind of, big and might not be the best thing to carry around. This again is, obviously it's a hat, it's a much smaller project. And then yeah, I'm hopeful that at the very least I can get the wooden knitting needles through French airport security. And if not, I'll also bring a book. But those are my plans for vacation knitting. I would be really curious to hear from any of you if you have any tips or tricks in this department. If you just listened to what I said and you were like, that's not gonna work. I would love to hear about your thoughts and experiences around taking your knitting needles on the plane, especially if you have traveled through or to any of the places I mentioned. I would love to hear your thoughts. Obviously, I want to be prepared. Yeah, let me know about your experiences. I would love to hear them. And that is it for me today. Thank you so much for taking a bit of time to spend with me. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. If you liked this and want to see more, give the video a thumbs up, leave me a comment. Again, any knitting travel tips you've got, I want to hear them. So please leave me a comment to let me know your thoughts on that. I'm gonna plan on recording again in 3 weeks. So I'll be coming to you a little late next time. 2 Sundays from now, we will be traveling home and I will obviously not be able to record. So I will plan on talking to you all again in 3 weeks. And I look forward to sharing with you all about our trip. I'm super excited, and hopefully I will be able to get a lot of knitting done while we're away. So until next time, again, thank you so much. I really love spending time speaking to you all and hearing from you all, and I will see you later. Bye, everyone.